Welcome everybody, I'm Stan,
I'm Guy.
and we are doing our Basement October Roundtable for wrestling. This month we have quite a bit to cover. We'll hit on the pay-per-views that have occurred, Backlash and Clash of Champions. We'll hit a little bit on some of the news and stuff that's been going on the weekly shows, and then we'll end up with our usual predictions for the upcoming pay-per-views. So without any further ado, we're going to go with Backlash. Guy decided that he didn't need to see Backlash. So,
It's probably working.
yeah.
Probably.
Ultimately, Backlash, I watched it. Baron Corbin beat Apollo Crews. Wasn't that entertaining of a match. You didn't miss anything. Becky Lynch, what was the Becky Lynch, Alexa Bliss, Carmella, Naomi, Natalya, Nikki Bella. It was the sixth whatever. Becky Lynch won the title, which was, it wasn't great. It was a women's match. I mean, it was better than some women's matches I've seen.
And Carmella furthered her feud with Nikki Bella?
Yeah.
Whoever. I don't really care.
And it started the Becky Lynch, Alexa Bliss feud.
Oh, yeah.
In the tag team tournament, the Usos faced the Hype Brothers for the right to face for the title because American Alpha was injured. And the Usos beat the Hype Brothers, kind of with their dastardly tactics, whatever. And it was an okay match actually. It was kind of enjoyable. It's nice to see a little bit coming back to the tag division. Miz versus Ziggler for the Intercontinental title, the last chance. Miz won because Maurice sprayed some shit in his eyes.
A good heel move.
It was a really good heel move. It furthered the feud. I didn't necessarily like it. I didn't hate it. It was a good match, though. It was an enjoyable match to watch. Randy Orton was set to face Bray Wyatt, and they had a clip where they cut backstage to Bray Wyatt beating the shit out of Randy Orton, slamming his leg in the door because he was unable to compete.
Concussion.
So instead, Wyatt fought Kane, which Kane ends up winning after Randy Orton comes out, RKO's Bray Wyatt, and then Kane chokeslams him for the win. Normally in a match like this, I'd be like, why did they let Kane beat Bray Wyatt? Mm-hmm. However, I understand by using the whole RKO, try to further the feud between him and Randy Orton. And Randy Orton's a very established star, and maybe this does help to bring Bray Wyatt up to that title level. It wasn't something I hated.
Yeah, I don't know. You gotta have Bray Wyatt win some matches. I can't remember the last time he won a match.
Yeah, that's starting to be the problem. And then in the tag team tournament finals, you had Heath Slater and Rhino against the Usos for the tag titles. And Slater and Rhino won. Basically, Slater took a beating. Rhino comes in, beats the shit out of somebody. It's enjoyable, and I hope they continue the Heath Slater Rhino push because they're fun to watch. And it's just, ultimately, it's Heath Slater's just like so oblivious, and then Rhino just comes in and destroys. But it's fun to watch. And the final match was Dean Ambrose versus AJ Styles for the championship. And ultimately, the ref gets knocked down. AJ Styles goes with the low blow and wins the championship. So
yeah.
AJ Styles holds the championship. I like the fact that AJ Styles holds the championship.
Yeah.
I don't like the fact that it wasn't necessarily a clean win.
Yeah, it was quite tarnished, but it's good for a heel.
Yep.
If you're really pushing AJ as a heel, that's a good move.
Yeah.
But
And it was, that match was actually pretty good. It's funny because I've always been an Ambrose fan, and now that they put him in the ring with AJ Styles, he looks underwhelming because AJ Styles is so good in the ring.
AJ Styles is so tiny, too.
Part of it is they need to let Dean Ambrose go back to kind of that hardcore gimmick, and I think that makes sense to not have the strap on him so that he can do that. AJ Styles is also probably a better personality for television appearances and stuff, so.
I don't like his mic skills all that much.
No.
I don't know.
It feels independent to me.
Yeah, I mean, you cut your teeth on New Japan Pro Wrestling where you don't have any mic at all.
Yeah.
Very briefly at the end of matches, maybe. And then TNA, where that's just a joke.
It's a dumpster fire most of the time.
So
Not saying that there isn't good content in TNA, but overall it's kind of a dumpster fire. But yeah, no, overall Backlash, it was alright pay-per-view. It kind of felt like a weekly show to me. There was nothing. The Miz Ziggler match and the Ambrose Styles match were both really good. The rest of it was just meh. And that moves us on to Clash of Champions, which once again, the guy decided that he didn't need to see.
I actually could have. I was off on that day, and my wife was like, "Are you gonna go watch Clash of Champions?" And I was like, "I don't know, probably not."
I was here watching it.
Yeah.
So Clash of Champions started with Nia Jax versus Alicia Wolf. Nia Jax being dominant. I like the fact that they're building Nia Jax as this super heel and this monster, kind of almost a Brock Lesnar-esque character. As long as, and now they're Alicia Wolf is a reasonable. I don't think
Sort
that
of
she's
established star.
well, right. As far as in the Divas era, she was an established star,
Yeah.
and having somebody come in and just destroy him is worth my.
Didn't Nia Jax win by some basic move like a back body drop or something?
Yeah, well, she had her outside the ring and just beat the snot out of her outside the ring, and it's always fun to watch her grab him by the hair and whip him into the barricade and stuff. It is kind of fun to watch. As far as women's wrestling goes, it's probably one of the more enjoyable matches I've seen.
She's a big lady.
Yeah, she is.
And I don't mean big strong big. She's big.
Yeah, she's just a large woman.
Yeah.
Whatever. I wouldn't want to meet her in a dark alley.
Sorry if that comment came up as whatever.
But okay, moving on. Then you had New Day versus Gallows and Anderson for the title. And basically New Day wins because Xavier Woods hits Anderson with the trombone. I understand what they're going for. Basically, based on everything I've read, everything I've seen, they're going to keep the straps on the New Day so they can break Demolition's record, and then they'll pull the straps off.
400 and some days.
It was just over 400 days. We're already getting close. It's before the end of the year.
Yeah.
So I think that we'll see the straps come off New Day maybe at Royal Rumble. And ultimately, they booked it where the New Day didn't look that strong. Gallows and Anderson looked very, very strong in this in that match, and I think that they finally are starting to book Gallows and Anderson strong, which is good. But I mean, it was an okay match. Then you had T.J. Perkins versus Brian Kendrick for the Cruiserweight Championship.
The only storyline in the Cruiserweight division right now.
And it wasn't even, there isn't really a storyline there per se. It's
just Brian Kendrick is a heel.
Brian Kendrick's a heel, and he knows how sports entertainment works. T.J. Perkins retained the title. I thought it was a solid match. It was okay. However, I'll tell you what, there was a lot of just muffed moves. I thought Kendrick probably hurt his knee at one point. Maybe he was just selling the fake injury. There was a lot in it where I was like, ooh, that person's hurt. And it was a good match. It was enjoyable to watch. Then you had Cesaro versus Sheamus, the 7th match of the best of 7, and it went to no contest. And I'll tell you what, Cesaro versus Sheamus, I may, get down on Sheamus sometimes, and I love Cesaro, but that was the match of the card for me. Granted, there was some things, Cesaro landing on his head. There was a lot of things where it was just it was pretty brutal. But it was such a well done match between two big guys, lots of physical moves. It was super enjoyable. And the end, I don't know if there was any actual injury anywhere. I mean, looking at it now, I don't think there was because they appeared on Monday. You got to see a plant get hit in the crowd because there's the guy in the end, sitting on the end, who gets kicked in the head when Sheamus goes over, and the medical staff doesn't go anywhere near him. They go right to the wrestlers, where if it was an actual fan, they would have went to him, but whatever. And when they went over, just Cesaro sold that his arm was messed up. Sheamus sold the whole fact that he was knocked unconscious. He was kind of stumbly. Great match. That was the match of the evening for me, and that's saying a lot because this was actually a really good card. You had Jericho and Sami Zayn. Jericho won. I'm not sure where they're going with that.
I don't think they're going anywhere now with it.
Well, I don't think they are either, but it was just it didn't have a real build up. It didn't really have a blow off. I mean, it was just a card or just a match in the card, and it wasn't bad. It's solid. You had Charlotte versus Bayley versus Sasha Banks. Charlotte retained the title, but I'll tell you what, that's the first women's match that I've watched most of in a very long time. It was very good wrestling. There was a few times where it was a little bit diva-y, where there was a time when Sasha Banks did like the slaps, like the cat fight slaps, like. But overall, it was actually it was a wrestling match, and it was something that I haven't seen from the women. It's what I'd like to see from the women's division. Maybe I'd watch the women's division if that was the case. You had Rusev versus Roman Reigns, with Roman Reigns winning the U.S. title.
I heard that was just two big bastards beating each other up.
It's ultimately it was. I think that it didn't show off Rusev's true skill set. I think it was a kind of a bad match there, but I don't know who you pair Reigns up with to have a good match.
Yeah, or to even battle for the U.S. title.
Ultimately, it was one of the Reigns' better matches in a long time. And I guess I get down on Roman Reigns a lot, and maybe that's why I felt that way. Was I disappointed he won the U.S. title? Yeah, I liked the U.S. title on Rusev, but it wasn't a bad match. And the final match on the card was Kevin Owens versus Seth Rollins for the title. Kevin Owens ends up winning after Jericho's interference. That match was actually incredibly good. It was on par with the Cesaro-Sheamus match. It was enjoyable to watch. It went back and forth. There was a lot of, Seth Rollins could have won the title at a lot of points, and I think it did a lot. Ultimately, I feel like they're turning Seth face, and I think it did a lot in building that. And so Clash of Champions, in my opinion, was one of the better overall pay-per-views. Even you compare it to their big names, it was one of the better pay-per-views I've seen in a long time. It was way better than Backlash. It was way more enjoyable than Backlash. Part of it could have been because you had some more story, I'd like to say, but ultimately I think just the wrestling in general, it was one of the better wrestling pay-per-views I've seen. And yeah, there were some botches, but it felt like on Clash of Champions, it felt like everybody went out there and gave it 110%. Like, we have to succeed. On Backlash, it was like everybody went out there and gave it 85%. Really.
Yeah. Well, Raw's fighting for their viewers.
Yeah. But yeah, that was the pay-per-views that I watched. I don't know if TNA had one. I know they have one coming up.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't really catch a whole lot of TNA because it's a dumpster fire.
I watch Lucha Underground and New Japan Pro Wrestling, but...
Well, and the thing with Lucha Underground is you're watching stuff that was taped 6 months ago.
Same with New Japan.
And New Japan, you're watching really old stuff because it's just getting over. Yeah. But yeah, no, So that was our kind of a recap on the pay-per-views that have occurred. Thanks for watching. We will have a second part to this video where we're going to discuss current goings-on, and Mark will put a link for us right up there. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. If you got topics you want us to discuss, feel free to throw them in the comment section. We'll do our best to hit them. And we will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.